We're going to get into Burt Rutan's predictions. As a kid, in 1955, I was 12 years old. I saw Werner von Braun get up there with Walt Disney and show with models and descriptions and calculations how to go to Mars. And I made a prediction right there that in my lifetime, this guy, this really smart guy, he was very eloquent. I ended up being able to meet him, and it was a phenomenal thing to be able to meet von Braun at 65. He and I got an award on the same event. I thought, sure, he was going to take us to Mars in our lifetime. And this was 55. This was before Sputnik. And I'll tell you something. In 1955, Mars was a hell of a lot more interesting place than it is now. Right? We thought there were maybe people there. There were certainly animals and plants. You can see the colors change. But NASA screwed it up by sending these robots to the deserts, and they didn't send any downtown. Okay, full disclosure here, I was a hawk. That's why I went in and worked for the Air Force to develop military airplanes. I found out how cool it was to have competition and do model airplanes to come home with a trophy. And I was really big into competition, and that my mindset was that, hey, America has competitors. So I became a hawk. Full disclosure here, my dad went to high school with Richard Nixon. Okay? So he brought up his family as Republicans. But I got to tell you, that only lasted through Reagan. I'm sorry, Senator Imhoff, I think he is here. But I'm sorry. After Reagan, both Dick and I, we think both of these parties, with the exception of Imhoff, who's in the audience, I believe. Are you here, Senator? I saw you just a little earlier. Well, excuse me, with few exceptions, both of these parties think it's okay to let this country lose its national security. They think it's okay to not protect our freedoms. And they think it's okay to steal money from our kids. And I haven't voted Republican for a long time. I don't know what to do now, because the whole Congress, it seems, is working against what America stands for. So I'm really... In 1965, when I graduated from college, we were just getting started with a war. Now, from the standpoint of developing technology that we could use later, Vietnam was a very good war. There was a lot of development going on during the Vietnam era, and I was a part of it. I worked for the Air Force from 65 to 72, developing airplanes. I went to the theater. I went to Vietnam. I visited every F-4 pilot and briefed every F-4 pilot in the world. So I was very close to that. I tended to think that was really important. And, I was disappointed that we walked away from Vietnam. We didn't lose it. We just walked away from it. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand when we really had it, that we would just let them win. That always puzzled me. I couldn't understand it. But I'll tell you, over the last year or so, I now understand it. It's crazy, but at least I understand it. Okay, 1970, I was still working for the Air Force. I predicted that China would be the only superpower by 1985. And in fact, I didn't go out and talk to the microphone, but I thought what America should do was preemptive strikes on China's new nuclear development facility. Kind of like Israel looking at, hey, let's get rid of them developing the nukes, because I was really scared of China. And I was kind of a guy that said, hey, let's take them out right now. That's kind of a crazy thing to think in 85, but at least that's what I was thinking. Okay, prediction from an Air Force guy. This is while I was working for the Air Force. And I thought in 1971, which was the first time that I came to Oshkosh, and I saw that little BD-5 there, okay? I thought we'd have 50,000 mini little home builds. You know, small, cheap, affordable, mass-produced parts and so on. I was really an advocate of that. I wasn't a big fan of the little red thing with the V tail because it looked directionally unstable to me. But I thought this was going to be a big revolution and there would be growth, and these things would likely be composite and they'd be mass-produced with automated stuff to where they're easy to put together and they'd be cheap. And instead of flying Cessnas around, everybody would have these little fast, little economical, tiny mini home builds. I was wrong about that, but at least I tried to make it happen. Okay, more predictions from an aircraft guy. Fast forward 1994, I said right here at Oshkosh in the Theater of the Woods that there'd be a home-built spaceship. Okay, I was only sketching stuff in 94, but I said the difference between Bauer's Flybaby and a pressurized Lancer is probably a bigger difference between the Lancer and a spaceship for suborbital work. It's just a gut feeling I had. I didn't have any test data yet. I didn't have any detailed design. I had only some very rough calculations, but I made that statement that says, hey, this is going to happen relatively soon just because it can happen. And it'll happen to the kind of guys, by the same kind of people that made it possible for us to have a pressurized Lancer instead of a fabric biplane like all the EAA guys at that time thought we should be limited to. Okay? Anyway, and also predicted that there will be at the Oshkosh Evening Air Show manned spaceflight that's out there in front of everybody. You see it take off, you see the rocket burn, and you watch it land in front of you. I'm still making that prediction, by the way. I had to make it the other night. I predicted in 99, now this is after I'd done some design work, that the X Prize could be won. But they didn't have the money. They just said, we got a prize. They ended up raising $5 million and then spent it on themselves. So, you know, they got that hole-in-one insurance thing, and they did fund it, and I'll tell you, the check didn't bounce. Paul Allen got $10 million for this thing. It's kind of cool to get 40% of your money back by flying a couple of flights after doing a research program that's just risky as hell. Hey, some garage home builders out there, they're going to do a manned space program. You're going to fund that? How many here would have funded that, right? Okay, Paul Allen did. He actually got 50% of his money back because he got another couple million for painting Virgin on it during the expo.